Hi guys, good morning or good afternoon or good evening based on the locations wherever you are. So my name is Dave and this would be my second session on Agile. Let me go ahead and share my screen so that I can make you understand what are the things that we will be covering today. And based on that, we'll go ahead and we'll discuss more about Agile and everything. So today we are going to discuss a bit more in terms of Agile and everything. And so I hope you have enjoyed the previous session of Agile, and now at least you got some idea like why do you use Agile? What are the different methodologies that we have in Agile? What is Scrum? And what are the different terminologies or what are the different process that is involved in Agile, that is involved in Scrum, and what is the advantages or what are the advantages of Agile and everything. So today's session is about a bit more on Agile, on Scrum, on estimation, and we'll drill down a bit more so that you can get a clear idea and a clear picture uh, to how to work on Agile and how to work on a project if that particular organization is using Agile. So first point is Agile talks about changes, guys, that we have to remember that you have to be adaptable or you have to cope up with changes. And Agile methodology is a practice that promotes continuous integration as well. So the second point would be continuous integration, guys. So these things, these topics or these keywords. So what I'll do today is probably I'll take a screenshot of this particular notepad and I'll paste it on my YouTube, or I'll paste it on the description so that you can go ahead and you can jot down or you can copy paste in your notepad as well. And before going to any interview or before going to any new project or anything, you can at least have a look on these keywords. Okay, so as I was discussing, so Agile talks about continuous changes, it talks about continuous integration as well. Now, in a simple word, Agile methodology is a practice that promotes continuous integration of development and testing throughout the SDLC or software development lifecycle that we call it as. Now, the Agile process would emphasize on some parameters, and those parameters are individual and team contribution. So I'll write it as like this: points to remember. Like this, I'll write points to remember. First point would be individual and team interaction, guys. So, individual and team interaction, what does that mean? See, in Agile, you have to speak well, and communication is the only process for that. So, let me give you an example. The example would be suppose you're like you have joined a complete new organization. It can be a service based or a product based, and those people are working on Agile. So first of all, they'll make you understand what Agile is all about and everything. Okay, there would be a team members. So how it works is, suppose there are a team of 10 members. In that particular team, 10 members, you have the development team, you have the testing team, you have the project manager, the product owner, the scrum master, the RM team, the maintenance, like for supporting activity, you have the support team as well. So each and every project has their own separate team altogether. Okay. Suppose they have 10 members, suppose they have 15 members, they have 20 members, anything it can be. What you have to do is you have to go ahead and you have to introduce. So those people will make you introduce. Okay, they'll introduce themselves and like give yourself a brief introduction so that we can recognize you or we can know something about you and everything. After giving that introduction, what you have to do is you have to proactively ask that, okay guys, it was nice talking to you. Now please let me know what are the methodologies or on which methodologies you guys work, and based on that I can go ahead and I can gain some idea and some knowledge. So those people will train you in Agile how it works and everything. So here the key point is individual and team interaction. Reason being, in Agile you have less documentation. Why less documentation? Reason being, you don't have much more time to document. In waterfall model, there was more documentation like FRS, functional requirement specification, BRS, business requirement specification. You have BRD, business requirement documentation. Those sort of things are not there in Agile. So suppose you have joined a new organization that I was saying, don't ask for BRS or FRS guys, or don't ask for any documentation. It's a humble request. Don't ask for any kind of documentation or any kind of SMTD, we call it as subject maintenance technical documentation. Those are the days, and those are the days where they are gone now. We call it as SMTD, subject maintenance technical documentation. Okay, this is a kind of tech documentation. So this used to happen in various organization earlier. They used to have each and everything here, like what are the tools that are being used, what are the technologies, what kind of database, process, product, everything in a kind of Word document. We don't have this concept in Agile. So in Agile, all the requirements would come in terms of user stories that we have already discussed in our first session. Okay, and we used to estimate and everything. So the team interaction is a key over here. Communication is a key over here. Okay, that you have to keep in mind. You have to be proactive. There should not be a 1% doubt on your mind that, okay, I don't understand this. I don't have much more clarity. I'll have the clarity later on. No, don't do that. First, you should have a clear understanding on the requirements, what you have to do, what are the requirements, or what are the things that you have to test, or what are the things that you have to develop. Go ahead, ask your product owner. So how it works is, let me tell you how it works. You will have a product owner over here. We call it as a PO, product owner. This is how it follows. After product owner, you will have Scrum Master. Okay, and he will be a certified one. Always remember, Scrum Master needs to be a certified one. He knows how to play all those poker games and everything. He is the guy who manages the team, okay, in terms of deliverables and everything. Okay, now after SCM, you will have a Scrum team. Scrum team consists of Dev plus QA. Okay, then again we'll have, see, it depends upon project to project, organization to organization. Okay, you can't say that, okay, this is a generic pattern, this is a patent one. No, you have a product owner. So these three are they are constant. If a company or if an organization or if a project follows agile scrum, they will have these three things: product owner who defines the requirement and everything, product backlog and everything, scrum master, scrum team consists of dev, QA, plus I would mention deployment team. Now again, deployment can be handled by the development team as well, guys. You have to remember this. So it can be handled by the dev team or RM team. We call it as a release management team, guys. You have to remember that. Okay, so these three are mandates. Okay, now after these things, what you have? You have the BAs as well. So BA, again, they are the part of Scrum team. BA represents business analyst. Okay, business analyst. What is the job role of business analyst? See, the job role of business analyst is to break down the requirements, and they create a bridge between or among the Scrum team and the product owner, along with the Scrum master. BA can be a technical person or a non-technical person. We can't say BA is a non-technical person or BA should be a technical person. No, he or she can be a technical person, he or she can't be a technical person. Okay, it depends. What BA would go ahead and do? BA would create a bridge among the Scrum team, not among, I would say between the Scrum team and the product owner, or between the product owner, uh, the business, and the Scrum team. Again, it depends upon organization to organization, but the main work or the main objective of this particular position is to maintain a bridge between the Scrum team and the business. BA is the one who would go ahead, gather all the requirements along with the product owner from the business. Business represents client. Okay, we call it as business. So he or she will be the person to show any demo, to present any demo, to give any information. BA is the concerned person, guys. Now, along with BA, you have another person called solution architect. Okay, please, guys, note down these all things properly. Reason being, this will help you to crack any type of interview. This will help you to gain more knowledge how the organization structure is about Scrum, how the organization structure is about Agile, how it works, how it should work. See, based on organization to organization, based on project to project, it may vary. But these are the terminologies, these are the positions. See, these positions will remain constant. Okay, if there are like there is a position of product owner, you can gain idea. Okay, so he's the person from whom we can get the requirements and everything. He develops or he defines the product backlog. So that concept, the theoretical idea is there with you. So the main objective of all these sessions and publishing in YouTube is to make you guys aware of all the theoretical knowledge. Hands-on knowledge will be gained after working in a project only. I cannot give you and I cannot promise you that okay, if you go ahead through this particular session, you will have hands-on. No, hands-on can only be gained after joining an organization only. It can be a product-based organization, it can be a startup, it can be a service-based, anything. But theoretical knowledge is required before hands-on. Okay. So there would be a guy called solution architect. What is the job of solution architect? Why he is placed there? Solution architect should be a technical person, guys. He has to be a technical person. This is a mandate for solution architect. He has to be a technical guy. What he does, he provides, let me write it here. He provides solution to all the RQs. RQs represents requirements. Okay. See, there is a concept of refinement as well. So on the like on the first session, on my first session of Agile, I did not go into this particular deep. Reason being, it was a kind of basic session, a kind of overview. I would say a bird's eye view. But now in this particular session, we'll drill down a bit so that you can have that kind of knowledge to go onto the ODC. ODC represents Offshore Development Center or Onshore Development Center, and have the theoretical understanding, have the theoretical knowledge, and have that confidence that, okay, fine, I can work on Agile, I can work on Scrum. I am that kind of confident person now after seeing these two videos. So the objective is that, guys, this video is for fresher, this video is for experienced person, this video is for person who has not worked on Agile or who are migrating from waterfall to Agile. This will help them. This will help them to build confidence. It will help them to gain more knowledge as well. Okay, so there is a concept called refinement as well. Refinement of user stories, guys, or requirement. In this refinement session, what we do is we generally discuss. Okay, and this happens before sprint planning. Let me write it down. This happens before sprint planning. So there is a session called refinement of user stories. What we do, discuss of, or I would mention discussion of user stories. See, there are many things related to a requirement. One is your dependencies. Okay. One is your dependencies. One is your environment. One is your logic. One is your tools. Another one is your testing activity. Another thing is your reusable component I would mention. Another thing would mention your value add. So see, you have to concentrate on all these things, guys. Now I'll discuss one after the other. See, suppose there is a new requirement. Okay. See, I have wide exposure in terms of a CRM application called Salesforce. I have worked on various other applications as well in terms of my career, like throughout this 6.5 years of my career. I have worked on ServiceNow, I have worked on MuleSoft, I have worked on microservices, SOA, Selenium in terms of Salesforce. Okay, I have exposure to JDA as well. I have exposure to various other integrated applications in terms of Salesforce as well. So we'll have a brief discussion on this application, but I'm telling you so that you also have that kind of knowledge that okay, the this particular video is created by a person who has wide knowledge in terms of application, in terms of agile, in terms of waterfall, and in terms of this particular industry. So during all these span of my career of 6.5 plus years, what I came to know is you have all these things, and these things are required to discuss in this particular session. We call it as a refinement session. Now, what do you mean by dependencies? See, dependencies are of different components. Dependencies are of different portfolios. So how it works is, suppose there is a 30 member or a 40 member team. Okay, and you are developing 3 to 4 products parallelly. There is a product based organization that I was contributing to. I am not taking the name of that product based organization. So it's a well known product based organization in Bangalore, and we used to have different portfolios. We call it as a different team. There is order management team, there is a global fulfillment team, there is a global replenishment team, and there is purchasing order creation, and they are giant uh, hypermarket. Okay, so what they do is they have different tools and they have different technologies working parallelly, working together. So they have a huge application. Okay, and in that application they have different components. They have one application uh, for showing all the components or showing all the materials to the user. There is one integration or there is another application which has been integrated, and if you click that hyperlink, you are redirected to another application. So this is applicable for a huge kind of organization, and what they do is they follow this pattern throughout, and they have a group of people who works on agile, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks sprint. So what they do is they have lot of dependency in terms of you have various application. Okay, and one app, so you have various applications. Okay, and one application is dependent on another application. Okay, the data is dependent. You cannot create data on one application and another application. Suppose like there is a chain model. The output of A is the input of B. Again, the output of B is the input of C. So if there is a flaw between these output, this application won't work. If there is a flaw in the output of this particular A, B application won't work. So they have a lot more dependencies. They have bad job. They have real-time integration. They have integration via ESB, we call it as. ESB is Enterprise Service Bus. You have microservices for all these components. Microservices for all these components, and they are interdependent, guys. Believe me. You have all the microservices and everything. Okay, so for all of these components, and these components are they're like interdependent to each other. So if there is any fault over here or here, then this one won't work, D won't work. So one functionality gets hampered, the other functionality won't work. So you have to understand all those dependencies in terms of this refinement session. So we have a brief discussion for all the dependencies and everything, guys. Okay. So this is one point, discussion of dependencies and everything. Again, you have environment. See, environment represents your, there are various type of environment I would mention. The one environment is your development environment. Okay. Dev environment where development takes place. Another environment is your QA environment. okay, where QA testing will go ahead and the tester will go ahead and do the testing. Another environment is your integration environment. What is integration environment? Integration environment is your integration of all the application. Okay, you have integration of all the application of all the apps. You have your staging environment as well. After this thing, you have your staging environment as well. After staging, you have your pre-prod as well. See, you have to develop your code on each and every environment, guys. And you have all the logic, you have all the tools, all the testing activity, like when the testing activity would be conducted, where the testing activity will be conducted, in which phase you have, like you have to close the testing activity and everything. You have to define the reusable component as well so that you cannot test or you cannot create those components in each and every environment so that you can reuse all those components. Okay. And by using all this thing, you have to provide value add to the organization as well so that they don't end up spending a lot of money. So you have to define each and everything in this refinement session, guys. And this is helpful in each and every organization. This is the objective of this refinement session, guys. Okay. So this one point you have to remember. Okay. Another point is less documentation that I have already mentioned. So I'm not mentioning here. Okay. So another point is customer collaboration. Customer collaboration is like showing demo or presenting demo. Okay. Showing demo. This is done by anyone. Generally, it is done by BA. Generally, generally, it is recommended. Generally, it is done by BA. But in an agile, everybody are same. Everyone are same. Maybe he or she is more experienced in terms of number of years, but we all are on the same page. Everyone are same. So even a testing team can go ahead and present a demo. Even a development team can go ahead and present a demo. Okay, so customer collaboration is required, customer feedback is required. I would mention as customer collaboration and feedback. This will help you. Okay, so this is one aspect, and another aspect is responding to changeover. In the agile, let's say in agile, one thing you have to remember is change. You have to adapt to this particular word called change. Change is constant, guys, that we have to remember. This is what life is all about. Change is constant. If we are like on a comfort zone, then we are like finished. So change is constant, guys. So here in agile also they follow the same thing. Less documentation, more collaboration, more communication. I would mention as effective communication. That is very important. Here I would mention as effective communication, smart communication. Don't speak much, but make sure the words that you speak, they do have a particular weightage. Okay, so the third point would be responding to changes. What type of responding to changes? Changes in RQ, guys. Changes in RQ, changes in requirement. Suppose customer says, fine Deb, I'm not happy with this kind of structure. Previously we had this kind of requirement, now the requirement has changed, you know, based on the business we want to change this requirement. So will it be possible? Is it feasible? You have to go ahead and you have to adapt the change. You cannot say no to the client. See, you have to understand the business first. If there is a possibility, if there is an advantage by which you can change this thing, then you have to say yes, it is possible. You cannot force yourself. It's not that the client are forcing you. If it is feasible, you can change. If it is not feasible, go ahead and speak to them, talk to them. No, it is not feasible. What is the business that is involved in changing this thing? Ask them. This has to be a proactive communication. This has to be an interactive communication, guys. Agile is all about interactive communication and proactive communication and effective communication. You have to do smart work, guys. Ask the client, ask the BA, ask the product owner why we are changing this point, why we are changing this RQ, why there is a change. So there are many challenges as well. We'll discuss about the challenges later on, probably at the end of this session. What are the challenges that we have in Agile? However, these are the things that we have to know. Okay, so these are the things that we have to know in terms of Agile. There is another thing that I wanted to discuss with you guys is epic. In my first session, I did not discuss. Reason being, I wanted to understand you what is user story and everything. So there is a concept of epic. Epic is on a very high level, guys. What do you mean by epic? Epic is the, I would say, it's a summation or cluster of user story functionality. Suppose uh, you have to build an apartment. It's a very simple example. You have to build an apartment. So epic would be building an apartment. Building a apartment. What would the user story? This is my epic. Okay. This is my, let me write it down so that it will help you guys to understand. This is my epic, guys. Okay. Building an apartment. So what is the user story, or what are the user story related to this epic? Now one epic may contain 5 user story, one epic may contain 6 user story, one epic may contain 2 user stories as well. It depends. Generally on a maximum I have seen one epic contains more than 7 to 8 user stories. That is the maximum that I have seen. It depends on organization to organization, but one epic can contain around 8, 9, 10 user stories maximum. Not more than 10. It can be, but again not more than 10. So what is epic? Epic is a very high level or a summation of user stories functionality, guys. This is a terminology in Agile. So there are various tools in Agile. We have Jira that is widely used. We have Rally. There is one tool called ServiceNow. People knows ServiceNow about like it's a cloud-based ticketing tool only, but it has the capability to manage a release, to manage a project as well. I have used ServiceNow in one of my clients, like in one of my organization, and we used to define everything in ServiceNow. We used to define Epic. Under Epic, we have user stories. Under user stories, we have all the functionalities and everything. We used to raise defects as well. We used to map those defects along with the user stories as well. So there are provisions in ServiceNow. So we'll talk about ServiceNow later on. But what is Epic now? So Epic is a summation or a cluster of user story functionality, and it is on a very high level. It should be a one-liner. So here I'll mention it should be a one-liner, not more than one-liner, guys. It is one-liner. We call it as epic, one-liner. So building an apartment is an epic. What are the user stories? User stories is maybe construction of 6 rooms. Again, user stories, construction of 3 rooms on the west side. Okay. Again, same user story, like same epic you can relate to construction of, I'll copy paste the same word. Okay, construction of 3, or I'd mention 2 restrooms. Again, one user story would be construction of 1 balcony attached to this bedrooms. Again, I'd mention construction of bedrooms here. Construction of bedrooms, or I'll mention 1 bedroom. Okay, so you can see this epic is related to 5 user stories. What are those 5 user stories? Construction of 6 rooms. Construction under these 6 rooms, I have construction of 3 rooms on the west side. Okay, so under this, like I have all total 6 rooms, that is 3 plus 3. Okay, 3 plus 3 I have. So here you can mention, you can strike this thing off, or you can say these 4 are my user stories which are related to this particular epic. You can mention it like this. This will help you. See? See? So this is my epic building an apartment. Under this epic, you have construction. So these are all my granular details. These are all my granular details. What are this thing? We call it as features or RQs, requirements, right? features or requirements. See, for each and every feature, I have one user stories defined. Correct? You got me right. So for each and every user stories, I have one feature. These things are features. This thing is epic. Epic is a similar task. See, building an apartment. So all these things are related to building an apartment only. So in epic, you will have one liner statement which relates to a similar kind of task. You cannot write here in the user story. I'd say no, you cannot write here as a user story buying. Okay, I would mention like this so that you can get the understanding of what not to do. Buying a land. This is not similar to this thing. Reason being, I'm constructing a building. I'm not buying anything, right? Definitely, I'm buying my sands and everything, and my stones and everything, cement and everything, but I'm not buying a land. I'm I have bought land and I have I have starting my construction. So this user story is not related to this thing. No, these four user stories are related to this particular epic, building an apartment. I have already bought the land. I've already started building. So this is the epic. Construction of 3 rooms on the west side. Construction. So again on those among those 3 rooms, I have construction of 2 rooms, like 2 restrooms, 2 washrooms I would mention. Construction of 1 bedroom. Construction of 1 balcony. So I have what? I have 3 rooms. And on those 3 rooms, what I have again 2 restrooms, which should be attached to those 3 rooms. I have 1 bedroom. Okay, and these 3 rooms would be on the west side. Maybe the other 3 rooms, because all total I have 6 rooms, right? So these 3 rooms would be on the west side. Maybe these 3 rooms is on the other side. I have 3 plus 3, right? So with these 3 rooms, I will have 2 restrooms attached. Maybe the other 3 rooms doesn't have a restroom. With this 3 room, I have 1 bedroom. So maybe 2 other rooms are they can be a living room, they can be a study room, they can be a kitchen, they can be a storeroom, anything. And with these 3 rooms, I have 1 balcony. You got me right? I have 1 balcony. So you can write this thing as this as well. You can modify the epic building an apartment on west side. There is another epic you can define. So this thing is no represents. You cannot have an epic of this thing. So epic should be of similar functionality, guys. On east side, you can mention. You can mention on east side. Again, you are developing 3 rooms on the east side, and you don't have any restrooms attached to it. You'll have again 1 bedroom and 1 balcony attached to it, attached to this particular bedroom. Fine. So this is what epic is all about. It should be of similar functionality and like similar functionality of the user stories. The user story would have similar functionality so that we can relate all those things into a one epic. This is what epic is all about, guys. Okay, I hope you got the understanding of what epic is all about, right? Now, here comes the most important part, that is estimation. Previously, we discussed about all the poker games and everything and how it is done. Generally, it is followed as a Fibonacci series, we call it as. There is a concept of Fibonacci series, guys, in programming and everything. So here it goes 1, then 3, then 5, then 7, then 9. I'm sorry, 1, 5, 8. Reason being 1 plus, yeah. So this is how it goes. You have uh, you have 2 as well. Okay, 1, 2, 3, then 5, then 8. Okay, then 13, then 21. Maximum 21 I have seen. I have not seen more than 21. So this is a Fibonacci series. Okay, so till 21 I have seen. Now what are these things? These things we call it as a story points. Okay, we have already covered that thing. Now, how to estimate, guys? Suppose, let me open Paint for that. Suppose I have my team. Okay, this is one team. This is again another team. This is again another team. Okay, what are these teams? These teams are, suppose this is my dev team. Okay, this team is my dev team. Okay, this particular team is my testing team. Okay, and this particular team is my RM team. RM team represents release management team. They will do all the deployment and all the stuff. Release management. Okay, we call it as a release management team. Okay, so suppose there is one user story. Okay, there is one user story. How we have to give the estimation and everything. We have this particular user story which is a bit complex and that requires around a week to develop. A week represents 5 days, 5 working days. Now, while estimation, you have to remember estimation, I'll write it down here as well. Estimation would be from dev plus QA. It shouldn't be on one side. It cannot be like only the development team can estimate and we have to take account only for the development activity. No, no guys, no. You have to take care for the dev team and the QA. So what are the general tasks that we do here? This is a very important question. What are the different tasks that we perform, that we do here in our development and everything? First, RQ analysis, we call it as requirement analysis, right? Then we have to define the environment. Okay, I would mention as environment define. Then I have to understand the feature as well. Like I have to see what are the dependencies. I have to see what are the code that we can reuse in terms of development. And I have to see what are the things that I have to develop in terms of front end, in terms of back end. Okay, in terms of backend, if I have to use microservices, then I have to use microservices. If I have to use a web service, I have to use web services. In terms of front end, I have to see whether we can develop it in any scripting language. We have to see that we have to make like we have to make any kind of modification in a CSS selector as well. Okay, in a DOM structure. So these sort of things, this sort of understanding, this sort of requirements or this sort of questions would be in the developer's mind. Okay, so they have to write the code as well. Okay, write the code for both for front end, okay, and back end. For both the things they have to write the code. They have to do unit testing as well, guys. For developers, unit testing is mandate. They have to make sure that okay, that particular functionality is working fine. After unit testing they will deploy, guys. After unit testing they will deploy to the QA environment. I call it as ENV. For the QA people, guys, there is another thing. There are different tasks only for QA. What are those tasks? QA is again RQ requirement. I would mention requirement analysis. They have to do requirement analysis, guys. They have to understand why they are doing the testing, how they can do the testing and everything. They have to understand the manual flow, right? They have to write test cases for that, right? They have to automate the feasible. They have to automate the feasible test cases. It can be with Selenium, it can be with Tosca, it can be with Provar, it can be with anything. But they have to automate the feasible test cases. I cannot go ahead and run the regression activity day after day manually. That is hampering my revenue, that is hampering my resource, that is hampering my effort. I cannot do that. So each and everything should go ahead. In terms of automation, I have to maintain the test script as well. So there is a maintenance activity related to Selenium. There is a maintenance activity related to Tosca, Prover, any tool that you have in the market. Any tool. There is a maintenance activity as well. I have to make sure that as well. There is a maintenance activity. Why maintenance activity? Suppose there is a change in UI. Suppose there is a drop down value change. Suppose there is alignment change. Suppose there is a cosmetic change. I have to go ahead, I have to maintain, right? In my code and in my development, we call it as a script development activity, and that is related to maintenance only. So I have to go ahead, I have to make the script a robust one so that I don't use all those stuff again and again. I have to change, I have to create some methods, or else I have to create constructor and everything. That is a different logic altogether in terms of Selenium. So I have to do all those stuff, right? So these are the activities for a RM team. There is a different activity for RM team as well, guys. Let me write it down. There is a different activity for RM team as well. They have to write the logic for deployment. Again, let me tell you, this is very very specific in terms of this depends on project to project, organization to organization. You will find many organization or many team, they don't have the RM team itself. The developer, this particular guy, developer only deploys the code to production. This developer only deploys the code to the staging. You can see that. But I have seen around 4 to 5 projects or 2 to 3 organizations, they have a separate RM team. They call it as a release management team who will take care of all the deployments and everything, who will take care of all the migrations and everything. Data migration, we call it as. Everything will be taken care by the RM team, release management team. Okay. So they have to write the logic for the deployment as well. They have to the maintain various environments. Maintain various environment. Okay, calling it as environment in terms of they have to maintain all the codes and everything in terms of various environment. All the environment code should be the same. You cannot go ahead and you cannot deploy 3 components in one environment and 4 components in another environment. No, you cannot do that. You have to be on the same page. All the 4 environments or all the 2 environments or all the 3 environments should be on the same page. Correct? So the testing team or the development team cannot say that, okay, boss, I have developed all these features. Why it is not in testing? Why there are only 2 components in testing? No, that can't be. That is impossible. So you have to give ample amount of time for each and everything, and you have to maintain all these things. Okay, they have all these things and everything in terms of estimation. So you have to take account each and everything, guys. After taking consideration, after taking into account, okay, so I'm writing it down for you. After taking account all these stuff, or I would mention as all this activity, the estimation happens. Okay, the estimation happens. You have to take care of each and everything, guys. These are all minute changes. You have to take care of each and everything. This is very mandate. After taking into account all this activity, the estimation happens. So you have to justify yourself. Suppose the dev team says, I have like for this particular user story, you can have 5 story points. The testing team says, no, you need to have 8 story points. You have to justify why you have 8, why you have said it's 8. It requires 8. The dev team has to justify these people why you're saying that, okay, the thing is you have 5. You have yeah, you're recommending 5 story points. Suppose dev team is recommended, these people are recommended 8. You have to justify, guys. For each and everything you have to justify, and this thing will happen in the sprint planning call. The sprint planning generally happens around 4 to 6 hours. It takes minimum, it takes 4 hours. Again, it depends on the number of user stories, but generally there are like 15 to 20 user stories. For a product, like for an organization like Walmart, you have order management system, you have global replenishment system, you have a global integrated fulfillment team, and you have different portfolios for different functionalities, and you are integrating all those functionalities in one junction, or you have point of sale. So there are different portfolios which are getting accustomed, right? In organization like Walmart, in organization like Shell and everything. They are like a product-based organization. They have huge products and they have huge product backlog as well, right? So you have to take care of each and everything, and you have to justify yourself. You have to be proactive. So that is what I mentioned. Effective communication is required. Proactive communication is required. You cannot sit idle. Okay, fine. Our dev team has estimated 5, we'll go with 5. No, you can't do that. You have to write your test cases. You have to create the manual flow. You have to automate those test cases as well. You have to automate the regression suite as well. You have to do the maintenance activity as well. So there are a lot of activities which are pending. There are a lot of activities. There are the to-do list will go ahead and will like it will increase day by day. You have to complete those to-do list, right? So how it happens is in terms of agile, how it happens, there is a concept called QA Scrum board, or we call it as an agile board. There would be a thing like to-do list completed and blocker. You have all these three columns: to do, blocker, and completed. So all these things, like based on the names as well, who are the development team, who are the QA team. So based on this, you have to maintain that particular board. We call it as a Agile Scrum board or Agile board. Okay, that's how it works. That is the main thing. That's how it works. That's how it should work. And many organizations, they have followed it. Many projects that I have worked upon, they have followed it. So that will track the progress. Okay, and by that you can track the velocity as well. Velocity is another one big component. That is one important component you have. That is one important feature in Agile. You can progress your velocity. There is a concept of burn up chart. There is a concept of burn down chart. We'll discuss on the interview questions. That is on the like I'm planning to prepare another session for you guys on which I'll discuss all the interview questions, around 20 to 30 interview questions, so that you can crack any interview. Maybe it's a service based or a product based, and that will help you to gain more knowledge. It will help you to have a command on Agile and everything. So you have this sort of thinking, you will have this sort of mindset to work on Agile. You need this sort of mindset, guys. It's all about mindset. It's all about proactive communication. And definitely, guys, it will help you as much as you work on Agile. This thing won't come on a single day. This thing won't come in a month. It takes years to master Agile. I'm still learning Agile. I'm sure everybody is still learning Agile. People who are who have mastered Agile, they are still learning Agile. So this is how it works. It will help you to master things. Experience will help you to gain more confidence. Experience will help you to gain more knowledge. And you'll become more confident of yourself. That's how it works, right? So this is the process of estimation, guys. You have to justify yourself why you have given that kind of story points. For each and everything, you have to justify. Suppose you have a story point like for a complex one. Suppose you have a story point of 21. Then the safer side is you have to you have to split that user story. You cannot define 21 story point, that is, or 13 story point for a single one. No, you can't. Or else what will happen if that particular user story is picked by someone, if the definition of ready is met and you pick that particular user story, what will happen for any kind of blocker, the other user stories would get hampered and the velocity would go down. Correct? So these sort of things can't happen. You cannot afford this sort of deliverables delay and everything. So the like to be on the safer side, what you have to do for a complex user story which is more than eight story points, or which requires more than 8 story points, you have to split, you have to break that user story into subtask. There is a concept of breaking user story into subtask. You have to do that. That is a best practice. So for complex user story, that's how I would recommend. For complex user story, break the user story. Okay, break the user story into subtask. That will help you. Maybe for 8 or 13 or 21, break that user story into subtask. Make it as a 5 plus 3. Make it like this. It will help you, guys. This effort will help you. This is very helpful. This will help you. So this is one understanding, and this has come with experience. In one day, I have not learned this thing. It took around 6.5 years. I'm still learning. So this is how it works. For a complex user story, break it into subtask. Maybe one subtask or two subtasks. That will help you. That will help the testing team. That will help the development team. Okay. Okay. Now there is another concept that I wanted to discuss with you all, guys, is Scrum of Scrum. What do you mean by Scrum of Scrum? So let me go back to this particular thing. This is the one. Now, suppose I'll open a new one. Suppose I'll save. Okay, let me save it, guys. Wait, let me save. Where is my personal? Okay. Suppose this is the thing. Okay. Suppose I have this is team 1, this is team 2, this is team 3, this is team 4. This is my team 1. Okay, this is team 2, this is team 3, this is team 4, this is my OMS team, order management system. This is GRS, Global Replenishment System. This is GIF, Global Integration Fulfillment. This is POS, point of selling. Everything I'm in a product-based organization. Now, each and every team, they're dependent, guys. These people are dependent. Dependent in terms of if in like you do any changes in this application would get hampered. Like all these three applications would get hampered. Reason being there is a data which is getting synced up. Okay, so this is how it works. Like in realistic scenario, this is how it works. All this thing, like all this data, they're independent. Okay, they're independent, guys. Like they are not independent. They are dependent. Okay, you have data going into this, you have data going into this as well. That's why I have given both the arrows in both the direction. They are interdependent. We call it as all these applications are interdependent. So what happens? You will have a scrum call for each and every team. Reason being this is team 1, team 2, team 3, team 4. You'll have a 15 minutes stand-up call for each and every team. You will have all the dependencies as well. To discuss all those dependencies, only the dependencies, guys. Let me tell you, only the dependencies. Let me write it here. Scrum of Scrum. Discussion of dependencies only with the, I'll mention, with the leads or Scrum Master. Suppose one Scrum Master is maintaining all the things. So in that scenario, you'll have the leads, you'll have the dev leads, the QA leads, not everyone. You have to remember, Scrum of Scrum is like on a very high priority level. It's on a very high level. It's like it doesn't happen very often. Maybe twice in a week, maybe once in a week. Only dependencies. The discussion would be only on the dependencies. And it is not required that everyone should participate, everyone should contribute. No. If you're attending 2 minutes or 5 minutes, when will you work? In Agile, there is less documentation, and there is effective communication. That communication should be effective. It shouldn't be a wide discussion. No, it shouldn't be a long discussion. No. Then when you like, what is the time for work? If you attend meetings and all these discussions each and every day, when you the time is getting short, right? So when will you work? There is no time to work, right? You have lunch and everything. So Scrum of Scrum happens generally once or twice in a week. Generally the leads, uh, like one from testing, one from dev, along with the Scrum Master, they will go ahead and they'll join. So there are 4 teams, maybe 4 into 2, 8 people will join. Maybe 1 people from each team can join. So this is what Scrum of Scrum is all about. Discussion of the dependencies. Suppose there is one dependency for which T2 is not able to work, and the dependency is related to T1. Suppose T1 is not able to work, the dependency is with T3. Suppose T4 is not able to work, the dependency is with T2. So all the other teams, they need to be present. They has to be there. They has to listen. And this should be of very less, guys. This should be 10 to 15 minutes. Maximum 15 minutes, guys. Scrum of Scrum. Definitely, in many organization, it goes around 20-25 minutes, but you should inform why it is taking so much time. If you're attending discussion and stand-up meeting and everything, when will what is the time for working? We don't have much time to work, right? We have to send the deliverables. We have to complete the deliverables. So this is one concept that is required. That is Scrum of Scrum, and so many I have many friends of mine. I have many colleagues of mine who have requested me to make this thing or share this knowledge. Like, what do you mean by Scrum of Scrum? So this is what Scrum of Scrum is all about. I have shared one uh, image as well. I've taken one image and I wanted to share. So this is how it looks, guys. Probably what I'll do is I'll make this thing as my YouTube this video image as well. This is how it works. You have all the product backlog. This was the first discussion, and I wrote the flow and everything. This is that particular flow. I have the product backlog. I have the pre-planning and everything. So this is call it we call it as a refinement session and everything. Okay, this happens before the sprint planning. Okay, so I have all the acceptance criteria and have to prioritize like what which user story would go into that particular sprint. Okay, and sprint as I have already mentioned, this is the sprint. See, and I have to do all these things in like what are the things that we'll go ahead and we'll be considering. So these are all the user stories or my features. See, ready for planning. And see, planning is use the prepare, prioritize, refinement, backlog, test is common understanding. Everyone has to be on the same page. Remember, in agile, all are same, all are equivalent. Maybe on the experience wise, maybe on the career wise, they are more senior to me, but we are all on the same page. You can go ahead and you can ask your product owner as well. You can ask your manager as well. Everybody are responsible. Everyone. Okay, everyone is responsible. It's not your sole duty. No. If a story is not being delivered, suppose the story cannot be delivered, everyone is responsible. Why did you speak that particular user story on that particular sprint? It's our fault. It's not an individual fault, it's a team fault. It's a team effort. It's a collaboration effort, guys. Okay? You cannot blame the manager only. You have to blame everyone. You have to take your own ownership as well as the team ownership. You have to take care. So that kind of sincerity, that kind of effective communication, that kind of unity should be there among the team. That's what Agile is all about. You have to talk to each and every person. Okay? Okay, so this is the thing. Use, prepare, prioritize, and define. You can go through it. Define implementation approach and estimation and everything. Then we take all those thing into the sprint, and it's a 2 weeks. See, daily Scrum. After the completion of thing, we have the sprint review as well. Okay, implementation team demonstrate that what are the things that have gone well, that could have yeah, gone well. What are the things that could have improved? Okay, the improvement thing as well we have to do that. We could have improved this. What are the things that went well? What are the things that went bad? You can give kudos to the team as well. So these are 3 to 4 points that we generally discuss in a sprint review or retrospective, we call it as. Okay, what are the things that went well? Any improvement? What are the things that went bad? And any kudos to the team members. Like if you want to give kudos to your business analyst, go ahead and give your to. If you want to give kudos to the product owner, go ahead and give. Suppose there is a very good communication between the BA and the Scrum team, and it take much time, or it took much time, much less time, I would mention, to understand all the requirements and everything. Go ahead, give the kudos. He or she deserve that particular kudos. Okay, so that's how it works. And finally, the product is released. So probably I'll make this particular image as my video thing and everything. So that will help you. Fine, guys. This is one thing that I wanted to discuss. That what do you mean by Scrum of Scrum? How to estimate and everything, so that you have all the knowledge and everything in terms of Scrum and everything. And always remember, guys, Scrum is a framework. Okay, let me write it down here as well. Scrum is a framework, guys. We call it as a framework. Okay, Scrum is a framework. Okay, and it's a agile development method. We call it as it's a agile development method, guys. Okay, it's a agile development method on how to manage task, on how to manage task within a team within a stipulated timeline. This is the only simple definition that I could remember or I can make. It's an agile development method. Okay, I think the development, the spelling is, yeah, agile development method on how to manage tasks within a team. Okay, I have to give a comma. Within a team, within a stipulated timeline. There has to be a timeline, guys. Okay, and as you already know, there are three responsible members or three roles I would mention. They have their own responsibilities as well. One is Scrum Master, one is Product Owner, one is Scrum Team. Okay, I'll write that as well. One is Scrum Master, and he has to be a certified one, guys. He has to be a certified one. Don't accept if he's not certified. Again, it depends on product to organization to organization, but generally 99% we'll find it like he's a certified one. And you have a Scrum team as well. Okay, you have a Scrum team. Who is the Scrum Master? He is responsible for setting up the team, sprint meeting, okay, remove of all the obstacles from the project. He is the one who is responsible. Maybe what you can do is, guys, you can note all these things on your, like while listening to this video, I would recommend you to keep a notepad so that you can note all these points. It will help you to at least go through before the interview. That will help you. Okay, so what is the like who is the Scrum Master? He is responsible for setting up team. Okay, he is responsible for setting up, I would say managing as well, managing the team. Okay, sprint meeting, everything. Any leave request, suppose there is an emergency leave, a sick leave or medical leave, he is the person whom we should convey. Okay, or remove obstacle. Okay, remove obstacle from the team. Okay, he is a Scrum Master. Who is a product owner? He creates the product backlog. He or she creates the product backlog. What is product backlog? Cluster of all the requirements, cluster of all the user stories. Okay, he or she creates the product backlog. After creation, what he does, he prioritizes. Okay, prioritize prioritize the RQs. I would mention as prioritize the RQs or prioritize the backlog, anything you can mention. And is responsible, product owner is responsible. Okay, he or she is responsible for the delivery as well, guys. He has a huge pressure. Delivery of what? Delivery of the RQs, right, guys? RQs represent functionality, right? What do you mean by RQ? Each and every RQ represents one functionality. Okay, for each iteration, I would mention. Reason being, in Agile, everything is happening in an iteration wise, right? In my first line, I have already mentioned continuous iteration. So this is mandate, continuous iteration, right, guys? This one is mandate, continuous iteration. So he or she is responsible for each iteration. Okay, and the last thing is, let me divide. Yeah, who is the last one? The last one is Scrum team. Manages this particular team, manages his own work and organizes the work to complete the sprint. Okay, team members, I would mention, team members manages or completes the task within the sprint timeline. This thing is important, guys. Okay, so I hope it has helped you a lot in terms of what is Agile, what is Scrum, what are the different process or what are the different approach that we follow to deliver a particular product in Scrum, and how do we follow that. Okay, what is Scrum of Scrum? For estimation, what do you have to do? Okay, what is Epic? Why it is called an Epic? What are the different tools that we use? Always remember, guys, Jira is one of the best tools that I've seen. I have worked on Rally, but based on my experience, I like Jira. Jira is very helpful in terms of Agile and everything. It's very helpful, Jira. So I hope you have understood uh, uh, a kind of thorough understanding, or you have understood thoroughly in terms of Agile, in terms of Scrum. So on my last session, this was the second session. On my last session, so the first session you can go through here. I have so this is the newly created channel of mine, Dev's software tutorial. So I have planned to create more in terms of Salesforce, in terms of test automation, in terms of web services and everything. And I have planned to create something on manual testing as well. Reason being, I have seen my colleagues struggling with manual testing as well. So first you have to understand the manual flow, then you have to automate the manual flow. Without manual testing or without understanding the manual flow, you cannot automate. That is one thing. So first I'll create all those tutorials, all those session later on, and that will help you guys to develop more knowledge, to gain more understanding, and to have more command on your skill set and everything. And I'm a firm believer of talent. I go ahead and I upskill my talent as well. I upskill my skill set as well. I like to play, I like to enjoy, and this is my passion. So I hope this particular session or this tutorial has given you a brief understanding on Agile and Scrum. The third session will be the last session of Agile, and we'll discuss about 20 to 30 questions. Okay, and all these sessions, or like all these three sessions, will help you to crack any service based, any product based interview. Fine, guys. So thank you for joining this particular session and for sharing your valuable time. Thank you, guys.